about this stuff. And one day you're gonna make the wrong mistake of praying in the wrong place at the wrong time. You don't know why I tied my gun to a shoelace and tooled up most people who put guns on. Those things panic and drop the gun and they get killed and they find the victim's loaded gun. When I get knocked over on my ass by that thing, empty gun ain't going anywhere. 100 plus hunters disappeared and
on our hunting channel, CryptidZilla. I have an anonymous person on the line that is a hunter that was hunting in the same area that we hunt at in Sam Houston National Forest, the units 208H area. And, or guess, hey, you can use a fake name. What is your name, sir?
Thomas.
Thomas. So Thomas, so tell us, you're hunting out there and coyotes are making up a lot of noise, which usually happens out there because we've heard them before. The last time we're out there, they're always whooping and stuff like that. So tell us exactly what happened.
So I've been hunting Sam Houston National Forest for over 20 years. Just about, 20, 22 years.
Holy crap, since you're a kid, since you're a teenager.
Yeah, I've been hunting out there since I was 16.
Holy crap, you've been around for a while. All right.
Yeah, I hunted all over the U.S. I've heard all sorts of different animals make all sorts of different noises. I've heard the squirrels that sound like bigger animals in the morning. I've heard all the stuff. I've heard mountain lion, I've heard bear, I've heard black bear, I've heard brown bear. But we were out there probably September, somewhere in between September of 2020 to just before the freeze in 21. And we're out there, coyotes were going nuts. And I've knocked on trees with big logs before to get coyotes' attention and sometimes get them to stop yapping as much because it echoes through the forest. And so I knocked on the tree 3 times, and about no more than 30 minutes later, coyotes were still howling, going nuts. They sound like they had gotten in on a kill or whatever. And then we hear a roar that me and a friend that's an avid outdoorsman as well, we've never heard anything like that. We heard it twice in one night. But for the rest of the week while we were out there, we were out there for another 4 days. We never heard another coyote the rest of the 4 days.
Holy crap. So tell me about this roar. You said you felt it in your chest because it's long been reported that Sasquatch is that it's kind of like you're listening to heavy music, like drums beating. When you're driving down the street, you blast your stereo, you can feel the drums in your chest because
it's a loud guttural noise. Something I've never heard before. Like I said before, I've heard just about every animal noise in North America, and it was a roar like I'd never heard before. And the stranger thing is how quiet the forest was for the next couple of days.
Right, it's not even insects were making noise.
We didn't hear birds the next morning. I always hear raccoons at night. Didn't hear a single raccoon. Yeah, and it wasn't super cold, so they weren't bedding down.
Yeah,
the temperature at the time. We had a fire going, but that's just camping and hunting. You got to cook at nighttime. We use the fire. We cook over the open fire, but. Yeah, never heard anything like that before in my entire life.
So this is the only incident of this type of this nature of thing that you ever experienced from you've been hunting out there. It's never happened before again?
No, so before that I've heard ape-like noises out in the woods in Sam Houston.
When you say ape-like noises, you're talking like a whooping sound, like whoop, 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 kind of thing like that?
Just like kind of typical, almost monkey noises, but obviously from something that's loud, something larger than
louder. So a larger ape-like sounding type.
Yeah, and before I heard that roar, I would say, I had the opinion that because there are so many exotic animal owners in Texas, that there was probably a monkey or whatever out there that had gotten loose, because I know people in Montgomery just south of there that have zoo animals.
I've heard about it. Monkeys are loose around here in Sam Houston National Forest. People have had them get away and about let them out. I've been hearing about it for quite some time. So you're thinking it was probably one of those chimpanzees or a pack of them probably out there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, what we heard that one night, that wasn't anything I've ever heard. Not in a zoo and not in the American wilderness. That's for sure.
Man, I believe you because there's something going on out there. I've been researching the history of that place, and between 1965 and now, allegedly, this is when police officers started filing real reports, when they were actually putting reports on paper in databases, when they had computers and making files. Over 40 hunters have been missing in that same area, where wives would drop off hunters and said, okay, drop me off out here, and then come pick them back up later on. They would simply disappear. And then the authorities would go out, they were helicopters searching all over, they couldn't find them. And there was even some rumor about, from another podcaster, that there were actually some hillbilly serial killers out there living in Sam Houston National Forest, of all things. It sounds crazy. But they eventually caught those guys. And when they caught those guys were actually abducting women, killing people, doing stuff like that. But when they neutralized these guys and caught them and took them away, and they arrested them, sentenced them, the killings were still going on and people were still disappearing. Which the authorities knew what was going on. By that time, they were covering it up, and the government was actually trying to, find these Sasquatches and dogmen and actually capture them to study them. So there was actually a secret hunt going on in all the national forests. They were actually trying to, do some acquisitions, so to speak, and get these things out of there to lock them up and take a look at them and see what's going on and study and to find out where these things are coming from and what they are exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I believe you. I mean, like I said, me and my friend Roser went on the 4C hiking trail in Davy Crockett National Forest during the freeze, right after the freeze, and we went up in there 6 miles, and when we got near the first 3 miles, I hear this roar, this loud roar, and I looked at Steve, I said, what the hell was that? And we maybe even had an incident in there where we were coming back and we heard something smash, like a tree branch smash, and then something actually took off and started running. We couldn't see what it was, but it was just ripping through trees and just busting. I mean, you could see it moving. So we drew our handguns and said, man, we better get the heck out of here because I don't want to find out what that is. I said, I don't think hogs run like that. Whatever the heck it was pretty big.
So Thomas, have you ever heard, we heard some people that were in that area and they've seen some mountain lions in that area. Have you ever heard anything like that, like a baby crying sound?
No, I mean, I haven't heard a mountain lion in Sam Houston National Forest.
Yeah.
I hunt in a different area now on the east side, just because the hunters camp gets too crowded during hunting season.
Yeah,
it does.
The dirt bike
And
people and shit.
so I go to the other side during hunting season, but during the off season, like, February, January, stuff like that, I typically make my way over to the hunters camp on 208. Just because it's less crowded.
That's a good idea. We just did that.
I'll say this. So there have been some animals and stuff like that slaughtered in Huntsville, where my buddy lives, and they're saying it's mountain lion. So I wouldn't doubt that there are probably some mountain lion that have made their way down to the Sam Houston National Forest. But it's super rare to see a mountain lion in general. Like, I've only seen 2 in my entire life that I've hunted, and I've been hunting since I was 12. I've just been hunting on my own in the National Forest since I was 16.
Now you don't think this roaring sound you heard, it could have been a mountain lion or a bear or anything?
No, there's no way. There's no way. I've heard black bear. I've heard grizzly bear. I've heard this was deeper and louder and carried more than any bear I've ever heard. And it sounded bigger than a grizzly.
And it was loud enough to feel the sound waves hit your body.
I'll say this: when I talk about the incident, pretty often I get chills when it's brought up.
Holy smokes! Because you knew.
And then same with my friend. Like, we're both avid outdoorsmen. Never heard anything like that. We both look at each other and we're like, "Holy shit! What was that?"
Man.
You know. And the only thing that we could think of is, you know, it must be Sasquatch.
And how far away? How far away did it seem again?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like it was at least half a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, you could hear it at a distance, but it was
you could still feel it. That was the thing.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy about it is this thing is so far away, but you can still feel like it's so loud and reverberating.
Right. Vince, they've evolved with this thing called infrared, not infrared ground penetrating radar. The military calls it infrared. And they actually do that, and it sends a sound wave, and they can actually disable you. And also the Sasquatches, they can set off a sound that you cannot hear. You know, it's a low frequency vibration that can actually numb you and actually make you can't move and seize you up, and they can just come in and ambush you.
Oh, wow.
That's the reason why you have earphones with you. Yes, because if you have your earphones with you, you hear that guttural sound.
So Thomas, tell us about the days after you heard that sound. Like, what did you guys continue hunting, or what happened?
Oh yeah, we stay out there. Like, there's nothing out there that scares us. Like, you know, we continued our hunt, killed a couple pigs, but the forest was so still the rest of the time.
No insects, nothing was making
didn't hear. Well, since it was wintertime,
not much.
We don't have a lot of insects in the first place, but like no birds, no squirrel movement,
right?
No nothing. Because whenever I go out there, I hunt squirrel too. So didn't see any squirrel, which was odd for that time of year. And then no deer movement. And we only saw one group of pigs. So we each got a pig on that one group that we saw. It was a small group. Yeah. But yeah, the forest was really still for the next 4 days.
Holy smokes, man. I tell you, the more we talk to people, the more information that we're hearing. Yeah, there's not that much information on Sam Houston National Forest and a lot of these podcasts, shows, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase some awareness about this, national forest. And one of the interesting things about it is that the national forests of Texas are controlled by Texas and owned by Texas,
right,
by a guy by the name of Brad Kelly. Brad Kelly's a very big multi-billionaire. He owns Sam Houston National Forest, David Crockett National Forest, all the private land. It's actually private land. So people from outside of Texas, they don't really have any jurisdiction to come inside here and tell people to shut their mouths and quit talking about cryptids and stuff like that. And I think that may be the concern why we're getting such a huge backlash from the side of stuff.
Yeah, it could be, Mark. But Thomas, you've been hunting your whole life. How often do you go hunting out there in the specifically the 208H area? I think is what we're interested in.
So I'm out there a couple times. I'd say I'm out there for a week at a time normally.
Mm-hmm.
That's
3 or 4 times between January and April every year.
Okay,
right? Because
and that's the 208H area.
Yeah,
that you go to.
And then in the fall, I'm out on the east side.
Yeah, so
okay, so you go to the east side. So where do you hunt at in the east side?
It's up 75.
Okay, and you never heard anything or seen anything odd?
No, never heard anything out there.
Just
nothing
over
but coyotes and pigs.
So it was just this one time you heard this crazy roar at 208H.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy, man. I mean, you're out there and you're going hunting regularly, and you've done it for years, and then it's just this one-off crazy loud roar, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, it was, and I mean, the interesting thing to me is that it followed tree knocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was within 30 minutes, and really and truly probably within 15 minutes of me knocking on the tree.
Yeah, it could have been a big male Sasquatch, and what happened was a tree knock startled him, and he thought that another male may have come in this territory.
Right.
We got pissed off and roared, said, "Look here, buddy, back off. This is my area. I'm hunting out here. You need to clear out. Don't be coming out here knocking on trees out here, brother."
Yeah.
You know? So you have to give the warning roar because, you know, they hunt deer and hawk. That's their main You know? Yeah. Man, this. I believe this right here. Yep. Yeah. I tell you, this is really interesting right here. I really believe that this is going on because when we took a look at the actual map of all these reported sightings, that area is close by Stubblefield, which is the northwest side of Lake Conroe, which has a lot of sightings going on out there. It seems to be, you know, over the last 20 years, I mean, there's over probably like 10 or 12 sightings out there recorded.
So if you take a canoe up north of Stubblefield, and then you go back in some of those creeks, and you continue canoeing up there, as soon as you pass the first bend and you start moving up into those creeks, you will immediately get a feeling like you're being watched.
Holy crap! That's on the northeast side, way up top, all the way to the top, right?
Where do you launch at, Thomas? I know, like, I forget the name of the lake. That's
So,
right there.
like, launch at the bridge right there at Stubblefield,
Yeah,
and then
I
instead
forget
of heading
what's the name of that lake? I forget the name of that lake.
Lake Conroe.
No,
Lake
well,
Conroe.
yeah, I guess it's Lake Conroe, but there's like another pond. I don't know. There's some other area. By
Well, like,
Stubblefield.
it's called Lake Stubblefield.
Okay, yeah, that's what it. But it's technically Lake Conroe.
Right. So you launch right there next to the bridge, and instead of going out, like, so if you're at the bridge, like, you're leaving Stubblefield Campground, and so if you were crossing over the bridge, you'd be going left up to the creek versus going right would take you out to the lake.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I know the area. Yeah, I know the area for sure.
So you go up there, and it's going to be nice and wide, and then once you get maybe a half mile north of the Stubblefield Bridge right there, you're going to hit like a marshy area on your right, lots of lily pads and stuff like that, and then there'll be two options of which way you can go. There's one creek that takes you off to the left, and they meet later on, so you can take either one. But the one further over to the left is more easily passed because you don't have to paddle through the lily pads. But you take that up, and you just follow that creek. If you go far enough, you're going to end up on somebody's property. But it's property that's their property, but contracted through the National Forest. So you'll see cow patties and stuff like that. And we've hunted all throughout that area. But as soon as you make that bend, you will immediately get the feeling that you're being watched.
Yeah, that feeling right there's not a good feeling. That's what everybody always says.
And again, this is like a swampy type of area. It's like a swamp kind of area, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot more marshy. There's lots of dry area. Like we've killed pigs back there. We do some duck hunting back there, and a lot of fishing. And so we always got a shotgun with us just in case we see some pigs. And you know, same if it's duck season, we got slugs loaded up for hogs, and we got bird shot for ducks. But and we'll be fishing the whole time. But yeah, you get an eerie feeling that you're being watched every single time we've gone out there. Feel like you're being watched.
Yeah, we'd like to do a boat trip because boating season's coming up here. I've got a boat right here, a bass boat. I'd like to go out here and do some fishing. We'll plan some fishing. I'd like to go.
So if you're gonna go up that creek, you're gonna need a troller motor, and you're gonna need to trim it high because you'll get into some real low spots.
And probably a canoe, or it sounds like a canoe or a kayak, like you're using, would be ideal for that area.
Yeah, canoe works great, kayak works great, but yeah, I see people back there with bass boats. You just got to be able to make sure you can set your trim high enough.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to use your shoal motor and lift up your motor raise your motor out of the shallow water.
The shallowest it gets back there, unless it's really dry, is like 3 feet. So most bass boats will have no problem with just your standard outboard with it trimmed all the way up.
Yeah, you just have to trim it up and move around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fish here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this lake right here. There's a whole history of what's going on in that lake. No, but I would not be surprised about that stubble field out area. Vince ran into a hunter, a lady that was attacked by a mountain lion. Vince, you want to tell the story about that mountain lion attack that took place?
What's
that
that?
lady out there by 208H.
Yeah. Let them know. I mean, you know it just as well as I do. Let them, you can tell them
Yeah.
about it. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we've already
well,
went over it on another show, though. I think.
Yeah, Vince ran into a lady that he met out there that was a hunter, and she's a former Marine, so she was going out there hunting for deer, and she
So this
didn't want
was
to go out there
just
by
to
herself.
let's just to specify the area. So you're at the 208H camp, and then do you know where the pipeline is? Just to the east of that.
Yeah.
Okay, between the pipeline and the camp, there's another trail. It's like a Forest Service road.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware of it. It leads from there back to the other pipeline that runs the opposite direction.
Right. Yeah, I know that trail.
Yeah, you've got two pipelines. You've got one that runs north to south and one that runs east to west.
Right.
And so if you go to the north to south pipeline, in between the north to south pipeline and the road for the hunters camp is this Forest Service road, and that's where this took place. So yeah, Mark, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, so Vince ran into her out there, and she asked Vince if she could follow him out there. So as you're walking out there, she started telling Vince that she had a mountain lion attack incident a while back, the year before. I think it was in 2021.
Oh wow!
This happened during 2022 because this was hunting season. No, this happened during 2023 because we were in hunting season 2024. So our husband was walking around out there. She started hearing something like a baby was crying, making like a baby sound, and she felt it kind of strange. And what ended up happening is that she kept hearing it, and here comes a mountain lion rushing out at her, and she's a former combat soldier, done tours in Iraq. So she rolls with the big boys out there fighting in war, literally in war. So she's a tough lady. So the thing rushed out to attack her. She had a .22 pistol and pulled her .22 and fired like 3 or 4 rounds of .22 LR, striking the mountain lion, and the thing got hit and took off and came back to attack her again. So her husband was close by. He pulled out his 9mm and fired, and apparently struck the animal.
Well, no. They actually had to run back. They actually had to run back to the car. They said.
Yes. No. Oh, that's right. They had to run back to the car.
She held this thing off with the suppressing fire, and I guess they were like a couple hundred yards from the car when they actually saw this thing. So he actually ran back and got his concealed, 9mm that they carry for personal defense.
No. This is where this. Yeah. No, it gets even more bizarre. Before we went out to Unit 208H, wait, hold on a second, guys. Let me get past this yard right here. I'm actually walking out here on my 3rd mile right here. Let me look over my back and make sure no Sasquatch comes out on me out here in my neighborhood. Yeah, right.
Hey, Mark.
Anyway, yeah.
What's your thinking behind the shoestring on the gun?
Am I thinking behind entering on the what?
Yeah, on your videos, I hear talking about.
Let me tell you what I think could be going on here. There's a podcaster by the name of Josh Turner that has a show called Paranormal Roundtable, and I'm a huge fan of Josh.
Yeah.
Because he lives in Texas and he focuses strictly on cryptids and things in Texas. And he was talking to a lady about a month and a half ago, and she's in her 80s, and she's from Madisonville, Texas. And what the deal is that going on from the early 1800s, according to her, she's wheelchair-ridden right now, but she doesn't have dementia. She can actually speak very clearly and, tell about the past history. She started talking about these werewolf attacks. And I was listening to this thing right here that they've killed her family members. And she said that Madisonville, by 45 off to the right, there's some mountains out there in that area. And she said that her family's been having run-ins with these werewolves going on for quite some time. And she was telling about it. So what happened was a friend of mine, his name is Mark also, he has a property out there in Deus, almost 50 acres, and he's allowing us to go out there and hunt. And the property is close by Sam Houston National Forest and basically connected to Madisonville, which I didn't know. So he told us that a horse, one of the horses, the 3 horses that he had, died. And everybody that knows me knows I'm afraid of horses. I told Vince because, I'm a bodybuilder and horses are very big and muscular creatures. And when I walk up to them, they have rippling muscles and I see the power. It actually scares the crap out of even me. So So Mark said that he took the horse died, so he used the four-wheeler and dragged the horse out back to the back of the property and left it out there to let it decompose.
Right.
He goes out there the next day and the horse is gone. So he decides to cross the property line, and he's watching this massive drag area, and you can see the drag marks in the woods, like something was picked up and being dragged. So he goes back about a mile in, and he's still looking for the drag marks, and something dragged this thing over a mile. So I asked them some specific questions. I said, did you notice any blood? Did you notice any tissue, like coyotes or hogs were foraging on the animal, bit off stuff, pieces of meat, and you can see the signs when they get through, predating on an animal, if there was anything like that. He said no, and he said it scared the crap out of him. So we just started our channel, and we're doing our first video, and you can see me walking around the forest, and I just mentioned right there, and I said this, I just mentioned this, and I said, this is the area close by Madisonville where we're having these alleged werewolf attacks, and a horse got dragged off the property. So there's no telling if it was pulled off by a dog, man, or a Sasquatch or something else. So we were walking around the property. So immediately, as soon as this video came out, the threats began. Right away, immediately, this guy goes by some channel by the name of the Thin Blue Line Gang just started attacking us. He went ahead and took pictures of me off the screen, wrote stuff all over my face. You are a poacher. You are illegally poaching animals and stuff like that. And I found this very strange. He started posting on there, you better shut your mouth and quit talking about this stuff. You need to quit talking about cryptids. Next thing I know, he took a picture of me and wrote on there, you're hunting cryptids and that's illegal. And he started, telling me that everything that I was doing was illegal, that I need to shut my mouth. Then he starts threatening now to report me to the game wards. So he said, I'm going to report you to the game wards, you're a poacher. And then he ended up writing on a picture. And then I noticed now he threatened another podcaster, which is he threatened Lance Hightower, who owns Monster 911, and then said that you're co-conspiring with Lance Hightower.
Well, technically he'd be wrong because any species not known to be native to Texas is considered an exotic and can be hunted year-round.
And here's another thing, too. Texas has control of their national forest, and the federal government cannot control Texas because they're called the Lone Star State for a reason. Yeah. So what could be going on, I think that he's a animal rights activist. It could be that they're using a different tactic now. They're going online, and what they're actually doing is going online and threatening hunters online, because they were going out to Unit 208H and some of these hunters camp a while back for the last couple of years, harassing hunters. I don't know if you've ever seen them come out there yet, Thomas, but they were going out there harassing hunters, and they were vandalizing hunters' vehicles, smashing out windows, flattening tires, pulling guns on hunters. They were going out in the woods, opening fire with handguns to basically shut at the place and run off the deer to save the animals. So eventually,
luckily, I haven't seen anything like that, because you come out acting like that, threatening my life, you're going to end up buried out there.
Exactly, because that's the wrong place to approach a hunter, because of course we carry guns. So here's the thing now. So the Texas Parks and Wildlife got involved, and the Sheriff Department got involved. The Texas Parks and Wildlife ended up passing a law that says it's illegal for you to be an animal rights activist going out to a hunter's camp.
Yeah, hunter's harassment, class A misdemeanor.
So I'm thinking that Thin Blue Line Gang, this guy right here, he went ahead and started trying to convince me while he was making threatening posts that he was a federal officer that was retired. And he started making threats that he works for Washington, D.C., that he's coming down here, he's going to have me arrested, have me raided. Then he starts making all these death threats of all your days are numbered. And then he starts telling me now that before the inauguration, that Trump will not be inaugurated. And once that happens, we're coming in your city, we're moving in on you. And I found that the threats were so consistent. They were so consistent going on that I knew that this wasn't any trolling. So now, I mean, and the thing is that we're just starting out this channel. We're hunters. We're mostly talking about hunters. I mean, about hunting. So these constant death threats are going on. So finally I told him, and I went ahead and I contacted the FBI, and I said, look, I need to talk to you guys. So they said to me that this is not us and this is not the way we operate. And no one can come in here and do anything like that unless they fill out paperwork with us and with their field officers, and that their ASAC has to contact their ASAC, which is the basically the commander over a field of FBI agents. Yeah. So they said they need to identify himself. He refused to identify himself. He starts telling me that he's with Code 33. That's basically a tactical hit team that comes and extract people that can do that in any state, no matter who's in control of the state. They can just come across your border and take who they want. That turned out to be basically a bunch of bullshit as I'm concerned. So I went ahead and I warned him and I said, look here, I'm going to let you know right now. If you are a regular animal rights activist, I'm going to find you. So I went ahead and filled out the information, sent it in, and I went ahead and I warned him on here and I said, I'm going to tell you one time, stop doing what you're doing. Because I'm not a guy to screw with. I told him that. I said, stop doing what you're doing. So finally he stopped and he warned me right before the election inauguration. He put out some information on it and said, tick tock, your days are numbered. And soon Trump will not be inaugurated, that the failed inauguration will come. And once that happens, that's when you know that we're coming for you. So I call back, I talked to him. So when I talked to the FBI, they said to me that this is not the way we operate. That they wouldn't do anything like that. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, he stops, and immediately, as soon as he stops, another guy jumps on there by some animal by the name of Kill You Quick, KILLAQUIQ. He jumps on there and starts immediately threatening the same identical things that the Thin Blue Line gang guy was doing right here. He started making serious.
Yeah, he probably made a duplicate account.
He started saying on there, so I noticed that the account started on 1/15/2025. So he started making threats now that you better shut your mouth. We're talking about cryptids. The threats started getting really serious now. It's been really still going on right now. In fact, we got several of them here today. So we're letting him know right now that you better make sure that you are who you say you are. Because if you come here and you try that. So I ended up filing a
like a no contact or something like that.
So I ended up filing a police report. Yeah. Yes. So I ended up filing a police report to let them know what was going on. So the cops believe that there's a possibility that they're just trolls. That could be what's going on. And it may not be anything. It may not be anything serious. I mean, the guy told me today that we're coming by your house. He said we're coming by your house Sunday. We're going to attack you, kill you and your family, all sorts of stuff. He's basically telling us. And as soon as he put up the information, he takes it right back down. But he doesn't quite. If he's a civilian, if this guy's a civilian, we're doing forensics on him right now, on him and the other guy. Yeah. So the forensics that we're doing right now, Vince, this is not being recorded, right?
Yeah, it's still going.
I don't think we don't need to put this part up on there, of course.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to edit. I can edit everything.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying right here is that I have to agree to meet up with them this Sunday, to sign a contract, to agree to arrange a fist fight between me and between their opponents. And if I lose, that they're going to basically take me away, extradite me, basically take me off to another country. So I sent all the information to the cop that filed the report. He was a former federal officer. So he said to me, he goes, Mark, look, I used to be a Fed going and kicking down people's fucking doors. He goes, this is not the way we operate. If there was something on you that we need, we just come right to your freaking house, 6 o'clock inside the morning, kick your door down, and basically take your ass away.
Yeah, federal agents don't challenge fisticuffs.
Exactly. He says that. What's going on? I think you're just being trolled, that these guys are just trolling you. But what the problem I'm having with it is that the threats are so compounding, so consistent. They're just going on around the clock. I mean, if you ever see the rights, I mean, he's telling me right here that this Sunday right here, right, that he's coming here to go kill me, kill my wife, attack the realize that this threat that
no, they aren't saying that. They said they're going to fuck North Korean labor death camp.
They're going to take some North Korean detainment camp.
They want you to sign a contract where if you lose the combat against their warrior, that you're going to get sent out to North Korea and you're going to work the rest of your life in a labor camp. So they keep telling you.
This could just be trolling. and that's what it could be. Just people.
Yeah,
But
I would be willing to bet that that's the case. That it's.
I think there's something. I think there's something more going on.
Yeah.
Ever since I mentioned Madisonville, I've opened my mouth and mentioned that area. That something is going on out there. They're covering up something out there. So
I mean, why would they try to be taking you to North Korea though? Based on,
Right.
Well,
yeah.
that
doesn't make any sense.
This sounds like
Guantanamo is a lot closer.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I said, I basically responded back and I said, look, YouTube won't put my comments up. I responded back and I said, look here, if my life comes at risk and this is serious and you are serious and you come here, you're going to experience hellfire, because I'm one of these type of guys where I'm a cool, calm guy. But if my life gets threatened and I realize that this is the end, I'm going to go all out. It's going to make a rap look like when I open up fire and I start out here, the gunfire is going to be so